Holy infrastructure Batman. Amazon just dropped another $5 billion on Anthropic, with up to $20 billion more on the table. We're talking about securing 5 gigawatts of compute power here. Aiva. 5 gigawatts.
Wait, hold on. 5 gigawatts? That's back to the future levels of power we're talking about.
Right? And that's just the beginning. We've also got OpenAI absolutely crushing it in the image generation arena with GPT Image 2, plus Google's rolling out some seriously impressive research agents. I'm Tomas.
And I'm Aiva. Welcome to Semper AI Digest, where we break down the biggest AI news without the hype. April 22nd, 2026, and wow, what a day for infrastructure investments.
Let's dive right into this Amazon Anthropic deal, because the numbers here are just staggering. So we knew Amazon was already a major investor in Anthropic, but this additional $5 billion investment, with the potential for $20 billion more in the future, this isn't just about money, Aiva. This is about compute infrastructure on a scale we've never seen before.
The 5 gigawatts of compute capacity is what really gets me. To put that in perspective for our listeners, a typical data center might use somewhere between 10 to 50 megawatts. We're talking about enough power to run a small city, all dedicated to training and deploying Claude.
And according to the announcement, capacity starts coming online this quarter. They're expecting nearly 1 gigawatt by the end of the year. That's moving incredibly fast for infrastructure of this scale.
It really is. And I think this signals something important about where we are in the AI race. The companies that can secure this kind of compute infrastructure are the ones that are going to be able to train the next generation of models. It's not just about having smart researchers anymore, it's about having the raw computational power to turn those ideas into reality.
Exactly. And think about what this means for Claude's development trajectory. With this kind of compute backing, Anthropic can experiment with larger model architectures, longer context windows, more sophisticated training regimens. They're basically buying themselves the freedom to push the boundaries without worrying about compute constraints.
Though I do wonder about the competitive dynamics here. Amazon's obviously getting something out of this deal too. They're positioning AWS as the go-to cloud platform for frontier AI development. It's a smart strategic move that benefits both companies.
Speaking of competitive dynamics, let's talk about what's happening in the image generation space, because OpenAI just made a pretty big statement. The latest Arena Trends data for text-to-image models shows GPT Image 2 absolutely breaking away from the pack with a score of 1512.
That's a massive jump. The report shows that for most of the year, Google's Nano Banana and OpenAI's original GPT image were trading the top spot within a really tight margin, both hovering around 1,200 points. But now GPT Image 2 is sitting at 1512, which puts it 242 points ahead of Google's offering.
242 points might not sound like much, but in these arena rankings, that's a substantial lead. It suggests that users are consistently preferring GPT Image 2's outputs by a significant margin.
What's interesting is that the rest of the field is still clustered below 1,200 points, so you've got this clear top tier emerging with Google and OpenAI, and then everyone else is fighting for third place and below.
It makes you wonder what OpenAI did differently with GPT Image 2. Was it better training data? A more sophisticated architecture? Better prompt understanding? The jump is so significant that it feels like more than just incremental improvements.
And the timing is notable too. Just as we're seeing these massive infrastructure investments, we're also seeing the actual model capabilities taking these big leaps forward. It reinforces your point about compute being the limiting factor for many of these advances.
Absolutely. Now, let's shift gears and talk about what Claude's been up to, because they just rolled out some pretty significant updates. Claude's co-work feature is now available on all paid plans.
Okay, I have to admit, I'm not immediately familiar with the specifics of co-work. What exactly are we looking at here?
From the announcement, it sounds like it's a collaborative workspace feature that's integrated directly into the Claude app. The fact that they're making it available across all paid plans suggests it's a pretty core feature they want users to adopt.
That makes sense. We've been seeing all the major AI platforms trying to position themselves not just as chat interfaces, but as comprehensive work environments. If Claude can become the place where teams actually collaborate and get work done, that's incredibly valuable from a retention standpoint.
Exactly. And it fits with Anthropic's broader strategy of positioning Claude as the AI assistant for serious professional work. They're not trying to be everything to everyone. They're focusing on being the best tool for people who need to get real work done.
Which brings us to some pretty exciting developments from Google. They've been busy with their deep research agents, and the updates they're announcing are genuinely impressive.
Oh, this is cool. Deep research now includes arbitrary MCP support to securely connect and analyze your own or third-party data. For those who might not be familiar, MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. It's basically a standardized way for AI models to securely access and work with external data sources.
And what's really exciting is that they're calling this their first research agent to natively generate presentation-ready visuals that bring data to life. So we're not just talking about text reports anymore. These agents can create charts, graphs, visualizations, the whole 9 yards.
The implications here are huge. Think about a typical research workflow. You gather data from multiple sources, you analyze it, you try to find patterns and insights, and then you have to figure out how to present it in a way that's compelling and understandable. Deep research is promising to handle that entire pipeline.
And the fact that it can work with both web data and your custom internal data is crucial for enterprise adoption. Companies aren't going to use tools that can only work with public information. They need AI that can dive into their proprietary datasets, their internal documents, their specialized industry data.
Google's also expanding access to their AI Studio platform for Pro and Ultra subscribers. They're getting increased usage limits and access to both Nano Banana Pro and Gemini Pro models without needing API keys.
That's a smart move from a user experience standpoint. API keys are one of those technical barriers that can really slow down adoption, especially for people who aren't developers. If you can just sign in with your subscriber account and start building, that lowers the friction significantly.
And they're positioning it as taking ideas from prototype to production, which suggests they're really thinking about the full development lifecycle. It's not just about experimenting. It's about building real applications that people can actually use.
Speaking of building real applications, let's talk more about these deep research agents because Google's really positioning them as game changers. They've got Deep Research and Deep Research Max, both powered by Gemini 3.1 Pro.
The key selling point here is that they can safely navigate both the web and your custom data to create what Google calls professional-grade, fully cited reports. That citation piece is crucial. One of the biggest challenges with AI-generated research has been verifying sources and ensuring accuracy.
Right, and for anyone who's done serious research work, having proper citations isn't just nice to have, it's absolutely essential. You need to be able to trace back every claim to its original source, especially in academic or professional contexts.
What I find interesting is the emphasis on safety when it comes to navigating different data sources. This suggests Google's put significant work into ensuring these agents don't inadvertently access information they shouldn't, or make connections between datasets that could compromise privacy or security.
That's going to be crucial for enterprise adoption. Companies have incredibly sensitive data, and they need guarantees that AI agents aren't going to accidentally leak information between different projects or datasets.
Now, this is interesting. Google's also expanding their GEMS feature. For those who haven't used it, GEMS are basically customized versions of Gemini that you can create for specific tasks or roles.
And one of the coolest applications they're highlighting is creating a gem that writes in your specific tone of voice. You can upload 3 examples of your newsletters, emails, or essays as knowledge files, and Gemini will analyze your sentence structure, your word choice, your overall writing style.
That's genuinely useful. I mean, how many times have you used AI to help with writing, but then had to spend time editing it to sound like you? If the AI can learn your voice from the start, that saves a lot of time. and makes the output much more authentic.
It also opens up some interesting possibilities for content creators and professionals who need to maintain a consistent voice across different platforms. Instead of having to remember all your style guidelines, you can just train a gem to write like you.
Let's shift to something that could have a big impact on AI research more broadly. Anthropic is launching something called the STEM Fellows Program.
This is really smart positioning from Anthropic. They're looking for experts across science and engineering fields to work alongside their research teams on specific projects over a few months. It's not just about hiring people full-time, it's about bringing in domain expertise for targeted collaborations.
And their premise is that AI will accelerate progress in science and engineering. But to do that effectively, you need people who deeply understand those fields. You can't just throw general AI capabilities at scientific problems and expect breakthroughs.
Exactly. Some of the most exciting AI applications we've seen have come from combining cutting-edge AI capabilities with deep domain expertise. Think about protein folding with AlphaFold, or materials discovery, or drug development. These aren't problems you solve just by having a better language model.
It also suggests Anthropic is thinking beyond just improving Claude as a general-purpose assistant. They're looking at how AI can tackle specific, high-impact problems in the physical sciences.
Which makes a lot of sense given their safety focus too. If you're going to build AI systems that can accelerate scientific research, you want to make sure you're doing it responsibly and with proper oversight.
All right, let's rapid-fire through some quick hits, because there's been a lot of other interesting developments. First up, we've got more details on that Anthropic-Amazon collaboration. They're securing up to 5 gigawatts of compute, with capacity starting to come online this quarter and nearly 1 gigawatt expected by the end of the year.
That timeline is aggressive. Getting that much compute infrastructure online in less than a year is no small feat.
And Google's been promoting their GEMS feature with some practical examples. They're showing how you can build personalized AI assistants that understand your specific needs and communication style.
It's part of this broader trend we're seeing where AI platforms are moving beyond one-size-fits-all solutions toward more customizable, personalized experiences.
Before we wrap up, I want to take a step back and think about what we're seeing across all these stories. We've got massive infrastructure investments, significant capability improvements, and increasingly sophisticated integration with real-world workflows.
What strikes me is how much the focus has shifted toward practical applications. A year or two ago, a lot of the AI news was about benchmarks and research papers. Now we're talking about enterprise features, professional workflows, and solving specific industry problems.
And the scale of investment is just staggering. When Amazon's willing to put $25 billion on the table for a single partnership, and when companies are talking about gigawatts of compute power, we're clearly in a different phase of AI development.
It also highlights how competitive this space has become. The companies that can secure this kind of infrastructure and talent are going to have significant advantages in developing the next generation of AI capabilities.
Which brings us back to something we've talked about before, the importance of not just having good ideas, but having the resources to execute on them at scale.
Exactly. And for our listeners who are building AI applications or thinking about how AI might impact their industries, I think the key takeaway is that these capabilities are advancing rapidly, but they're also becoming more accessible through better APIs, easier-to-use interfaces, and more specialized tools.
The barrier to entry for using AI is getting lower, but the ceiling for what's possible keeps getting higher. It's an exciting time to be working in this space.
Speaking of exciting developments, I'm curious to see how these image generation improvements play out in practical applications. A score jump like we saw with GPT Image 2 suggests some real qualitative improvements that users are noticing.
And on the research side, those deep research agents could genuinely change how people approach complex analysis projects. If you can trust an AI to gather information from multiple sources, synthesize it, and present it with proper citations, that's incredibly valuable for consultants, researchers, analysts, all sorts of knowledge workers.
Though, as always, the key is going to be verification and quality control. These tools can accelerate the research process, but human oversight is still going to be crucial for ensuring accuracy and catching any potential biases or gaps.
Absolutely. But the fact that we're even having conversations about AI agents that can conduct autonomous research and generate professional-grade reports shows how far we've come.
And how far we still have to go. Each of these advances opens up new possibilities, but also new questions about how to use these capabilities responsibly and effectively.
Well, that's going to wrap up today's episode of Semper AI Digest. We've covered some massive infrastructure investments, breakthrough performance in image generation, and some genuinely useful new features for professional AI applications.
As always, if you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe and share it with anyone who's trying to keep up with the rapid pace of AI development. The landscape is changing so quickly that staying informed really requires following these developments on a regular basis.
Until next time, keep building, keep experimenting, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI.
Thanks for listening to Semper AI Digest.